And welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel where I explain how the Bitcoin blockchain works. I, as a blockchain master, as a blockchain samurai, understand any blockchain technology, and blockchain technology is one of the two most important and most disruptive technologies that we produced in modern times. So if you want to understand how the Bitcoin blockchain specifically works, you should watch this video until the end. And by the end of this video, you'll probably love Bitcoin because you'll understand how Bitcoin works and why it's the most important and the most powerful technology today. Let's start from the beginning. What is the Bitcoin blockchain? What is the Bitcoin ecosystem? What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a lot of things. Bitcoin is money. Bitcoin is decentralized network. Bitcoin is blockchain. Bitcoin is cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is a lot of things, but in this video I'm going to explain it from a technical standpoint, and I'm going to answer a lot of questions about how Bitcoin works under the hood. And I'm not going to convince you to buy or sell Bitcoin. I'm not going to give financial advice on this channel, but I'm going to explain how Bitcoin works. So Bitcoin is monetary policy basically. What does monetary policy mean? It means there are some rules, some consensus that we have to agree upon to make Bitcoin work. And who decides this consensus? Basically the Bitcoin nodes. And what are Bitcoin nodes? Bitcoin node is basically a software that you download and then you run on your computer. And you can run this because this is decentralized network. You can run this yourself right now. You can download the Bitcoin node software that you want to use, and you can run this software. And now you are helping to secure and decide what are going to be the Bitcoin rules that the network follows. Currently there are 23,000 you can see nodes in the world. You can see Bitcoin map. Most of them are United States, Germany, France, etc. And there are different Bitcoin node software implementations. Most of them are running Bitcoin Core, as you can see here. There are total nodes this amount. You can see most of them are running Bitcoin Core, but a lot of them are also running Bitcoin Knots. And you can choose whatever version that you want to use. I'm definitely using Bitcoin Knots instead of Bitcoin Core because of the Bitcoin Core version 30 upgrade. I don't like this upgrade. And the rules of how the Bitcoin network works is written in this software implementation, basically. And you can see here on this website how many of them are running which version. So we can see, unfortunately, Bitcoin Core version 30 is run by almost all the network. It's 9.4%. Bitcoin Core 28 is 10%, etc. Bitcoin Knots is up there with 9%. We have Knots different versions, etc. Currently, because of I wouldn't recommend you run Core 30 because it has, I'm going to talk in depth about Core 30, but it's basically malware where it allows the Bitcoin network to store a lot of data. And Bitcoin is not just your file storage, is basically monetary network to transact and store Bitcoin. So we've explained so far that Bitcoin is basically a network, decentralized, that is run by these Bitcoin nodes that decide the rules of the network. It's like a social consensus. People all over the world are running nodes. Let's say if one person is running one node, there are more than 100,000 people that are running nodes, and each of them decide how the Bitcoin blockchain will work. And the nodes is what makes the Bitcoin blockchain decentralized, because anyone can run their own implementation of, even I can create my own custom Bitcoin implementation node and just run my software and decide what gets into the network. And this is what makes Bitcoin so powerful and decentralized, because no one can stop me to run a Bitcoin node. I can set up my own rules and run a node. And of course there are some other actors in the Bitcoin network that are not only the nodes. We have also miners. which mine Bitcoin and basically introduce new Bitcoin to the Bitcoin network. Let's say now you can see here at this website, we can see how new blocks are being added to the blockchain. You can see we have this block, and miners are basically the other actor in the Bitcoin network, and those are basically nodes, so they are running some Bitcoin software, either Bitcoin Core or Bitcoin nodes, but they also have hardware where they need to solve cryptographically a math puzzle. They have to do a lot of computational work, and they are competing with other miners to solve this problem. And basically, if they solve the puzzle first, and who has the most computing power is going to have more chances to solve the puzzle and earn the Bitcoin block reward. And as we can see here, mining is very centralized, unfortunately, because the people with the most money basically just buy more equipment, and these corporations or organizations are investing, I believe, millions of dollars, let's say, into blockchain infrastructure, and they are running those pools. So you can see this is the hash rate distribution, and hash rate is basically how much computing power you have. We can see on the Bitcoin blockchain we have this N pool and Foundry USA. They combined have 60% of the Bitcoin hash power. This is Chinese pool, and this is USA based mining pool. So what is a mining pool? It's basically miners coming together. You can yourself be a miner. You just have to have hardware that has computational power. You can install node on this, and you can become Bitcoin miner. And you can join a mining pool, and if this pool solves the puzzle, you get to earn the block reward. Is it dangerous that mining on the Bitcoin blockchain? Bitcoin mining is very centralized. Not really, because all the transactions have to be verified by the node software, Bitcoin software that I talked here. So you can see we have Bitcoin Core, and you can run a node, and the network is decentralized. All the transactions have to be verified by miners, by nodes, before they go to the miners. So the miners cannot exist without the nodes. So we are dependent with each other, nodes and miners, and this is what makes Bitcoin decentralized. So every miner is a node, but not every node is a miner. To mine Bitcoin, you have to have node installed, but you can run a node without having to be a miner and have this hardware installed, or set up, I should say. Let's see now the send flow. What happens when you send a transaction? So let's say, and this is for the Bitcoin blockchain. So you send your transaction through your Bitcoin wallet. You broadcast this transaction to the network. When you send a transaction, this goes to a Bitcoin node. As we already said, Bitcoin network has a lot of nodes, but first it reaches one node. Then that node checks the transaction, validates it, forwards it to other nodes, and the transaction spreads across the network. And basically, what is the purpose of this? It is for the transaction to be validated before it is mined into a block. Every node that is full node, that we have different types of nodes. We have full nodes that store the entire blockchain. We have other types of nodes. Basically checks the transactions and validates the transaction. Checks these things. If everything is okay, transaction is valid, the transaction goes to the node's mempool. Mempool is basically this waiting room. It holds the transaction. The node holds the transaction in memory, basically. It is like waiting room. And so far in the transaction lifecycle, no miner has done anything yet. This is not mined, this transaction, into a block. So you can see how the rules of the node are applied by the nodes themselves. So important so far, validity is decided by nodes, you can see, not by miners. But how are blocks made if only nodes we've seen that they validate transaction. What happens next? Now miners basically look at their mempool. So some node maybe that is not a miner put this transaction into the mempool, and the mempool is the same for every node on the network, and the miner now sees this transaction that is validated, and the miner basically asks which transaction should I put in the next block. They'll pick the transactions with the highest fee so they can make the most money. Then the miner starts doing proof of work. So the miners, we already said, this is hardware that has computational power and is working to solve this puzzle so he can construct the block from these validated transactions. And first one to find this hash wins and constructs the block from the transactions and basically gets the block reward. The winning miner broadcasts the block. Each node that receives the block does this, and then if it's valid, all the nodes append it to the local chain they have. So you can see first we had the nodes validated the transaction, they put this transaction into the mempool, and now the miner did the work, proof of work, and then created the block from the validated transaction that the node put inside the mempool. And you can see mining is permission to order valid transactions, not to create invalid ones. Nodes are the guardians of the rules. And this is important for me to tell you because currently there is ongoing Bitcoin soft fork. So we may do Bitcoin soft fork. So you can see nodes are the guardians of the rules. Miners, even though mining on the Bitcoin blockchain is centralized, as we saw here, it's very centralized. It doesn't matter because nodes are decentralized. This is a bonus question, just food for thought. What if two miners find a block at the same time? This happens. Some nodes see the block A first, they build on A, they add new blocks on the block A. Other nodes see block B first and they build on B. Now you have a temporary fork, you have two tips. The blockchain is basically separated, there is chain split. Who wins? The chain with the most accumulated work, basically the longest chain, wins. As soon as a new block is found on top of A side becomes longer, everyone switches to A. The losing block becomes an orphan, stale block, and this is why we say one confirmation is just one confirmation, 6 confirmation, or the more confirmation you have, the more block confirmations you have, the harder it is to reverse the blockchain. And we come to the final most important question: who's actually in charge of the Bitcoin blockchain? Who has the most power? I believe the nodes, because nodes define Bitcoin. Miners only earn if they follow what nodes accept, not miners. Nodes. So the consensus rules of the Bitcoin blockchain lives in nodes, and hash power cannot override them. This is how the Bitcoin transaction works. Wallet creates signs, transaction goes between nodes, nodes check, validate the transaction, put it inside the mempool. Now once it is in the mempool, miners goes, check the transaction, build candidate block. So this miner wants to create the block. Then they do proof of work. Only one miner mines the block. He gets the block reward. Then the built block is broadcasted to the network. Nodes now see the block. They verify this block. And then a new block is added to the network. And that's about it. Like this video if you want me to continue to make these types of videos.